Hi everyone, it's Mary and welcome to Super Skills for Grownups. In our next session for the kids, we're going to be talking about the letter O, an easy one to make, the ways it can sound, and our word of the week is going to be owl. We are also going to make our own owl. We're going to do a stamping activity, and which will be good fine motor practice. And we are going to read a book called Good Night Owl written and illustrated by Greg Pizzoli. Okay? And this is about an owl who thinks he hears a noise in the night, okay? And is a little bit worried about it. And this is actually a Theodore Geisel honor book. The Geisel Award is named after Dr. Seuss, and it is an award for early readers, basically books that don't have a lot of text, that are good for young little people who are just learning how to read. Not too many words, and they're simple words, so they're commonly called readers. This isn't a leveled reader. It isn't labeled as a reader or given a reading level, but it's a picture book that sort of fits the bill because of its simple text. One of my favorites. Let me talk a little bit about Greg Pizzoli. He, unlike some of the other authors we've talked about, is not an old favorite. He's a fairly young illustrator who's worked with a lot of well-known authors, and has branched out into writing his own books as well, and they're very good. You know, they're really among my favorites to use both with my grandchild and with in story time. They're bright, they're simple. This is The Watermelon Seed, which actually won the Geisel Award. It's about a crocodile who loves watermelon, but he has a worry too. He's really worried that he might have swallowed a seed and is very concerned about what that might be doing to him. So this too, his artwork is always very bold and lively and bright, and his picture books address they've got simple stories, not very complicated, but they're always something that's very relatable to kids. Like, oh, what if I swallow a watermelon seed? What if I hear a noise at night? Here's another one. I use this one for story times a lot. It's called Number One Sam, about a little dog who's very used to becoming in number one at the road race. And one day he doesn't. He's very unhappy about that and wants to reclaim his crown at the next race. But at the next race, there's something that happens during the race while he's on his way to taking the lead that causes him to have to make a big decision about how important winning is to him. And when I read this book, I really love to look out at those little faces and see the eyes are very round. There's, they're gripped by Sam's dilemma. What's he going to decide? There's two really important issues at play, and they're very caught up in the story. It's got a great resolution and a nice lesson in it. So a very good book to use for, preschool and above, I'd say. Preschool through second grade. It's simple, but everything in it contributes to the story, as tends to be the case with Pizzoli's work. This is a book about friendship. This story is for you. And it is telling the reader, the other character in the story, or the reader, exactly what it means to be a friend, and how a friend sees you, recognizes you, appreciates your uniqueness, and will always remember you. So it's a really lovely lesson. Again, bright, vivid artwork, and a really nice message. The other kind of book that he's also written some nonfiction, and I don't have any of those with me. He's got a book that actually came in as the New York Times Best Illustrated Book of the Year a few years ago, called Tricky Vic. It's about a con man at the right around the beginning of the last century, and how he actually managed to sell the Eiffel Tower. So that is a fun picture book. That's probably aimed a little bit older. And he's apparently right now working on a nonfiction picture book about his favorite food, which is pizza. Okay? In addition, he has written a series of graphic novels for early readers, beginning readers, which is all about this little pig character named Baloney. So this is Baloney and Friends. This is the first one. Each book contains several stories. Baloney has three good friends: Peanut the horse, Biz the bee, and Crabbit, the very crabby rabbit. So each story is a very brief version of their adventure, of an adventure for them. They, as you can see, they're told in panels. They're fairly simple sentences, not a lot of text, but there is the page is a lot busier because it's a graphic novel than we are accustomed to with beginning readers. So when your child gets to that stage, you will need to make the determination whether they're ready to handle this much going on at the page at once while they're trying to decipher the text. So, and that's the case with most graphic novels for early readers. So, not, like I said, not a lot of text, but there are a lot of panels. So, and these are very fun. These are fun to just read with them, as I often do with early readers with younger children, as read them for the stories and enjoy the illustrations. Okay, I think that's all I have to say about Greg Pizzoli. He's really great for kids this age, and very enjoyable. And let's move on to making our owl. Now for our owl. As I said, this is going to be mostly the point of this activity is the stamping. Okay, so let me show you what I did. I drew this shape onto yellow construction paper. It's about 10 inches from up here to about the lowest point down here. Kind of a squared off oval with a divot off the top for the owl's ears up here. Okay, and again, I always use marker so the child has a nice bold line to cut along. I also did some wings that look kind of like leaves. They're just more ovals with a sharper tip on each end. Look kind of like leaves. They're about 7 inches long, you know, and you can do whatever dimensions you want for this owl. This is just what I did, okay? And these are big enough shapes too that your child should have no trouble cutting. As always, I do little black eyeballs and bigger black eyes, and or bigger white eyes rather, and this is a little bit short of 3 inches across. Your child may well be able to cut that out. You will probably have to do the smaller black pupil that goes in there. And if you don't want to do the smaller black one, that can be drawn on. Your child can just draw a black circle on the eye. And the last thing was the beak, which is just a little equilateral triangle about 1 inch from the top to the bottom, and about 2 inches for the feet. And think of it as kind of like an elongated heart. That will work okay for when that gets flipped over for the claws or the feet. Okay. The other thing you are going to need is a piece of celery. Cut off at a convenient length for a child to hold. And I think the natural way that anybody holds this when they pick it up is with a thumb and the first 2 fingers again, you know, with these fingers tucked away. This is probably the way that at least most adults would pick it up. If your child picks it up like this, try to encourage them to hold it like this to stamp, okay? And what they're gonna stamp, I had poster paint, so I mixed red and green to make brown. You can use, again, with the paper, if you don't have these colors, use whatever colors you have. It can be a fanciful owl of any color. And if you don't have anything but white paper, use white paper and color it. Your child can just color it with markers or crayons. With the paint, any color paint you have is fine. If you don't have paint, I'll show you what the alternative is. So anyway, I mixed the paint, red and green to make brown, just in the bottom of this cup. If you don't have paint, you can use a marker. I found even a washable marker works. And how that's going to work is for the paint, your child will dip in and get some paint on the end of the piece of celery. It looks like that, kind of like a little smile. And they're just going to stamp that big yellow sheet. It's probably about 3/5 of the whole owl that's got stamping on it. And It doesn't need to be in a pattern. They don't need to be in a row. They're feathers, so your child can just stamp however they'd like. And like I said, it takes up probably a little more than half of the owl because you want to leave room for your eyes and your beak. And the way that works is just once your child has attached the eyes, they can put those on however they'd like. And once those are on, then they can go ahead and put the beak on, the wings on, and then the feet I kind of glued onto the back, the claws, okay? And the stamped part will have to dry before the child glues on any of this other stuff or works with it again, because it'll be messy. Whether it's marker or paint, it needs to be set aside and dried. So the stamping's the first thing you do, and then set aside, it dries, and then they can attach these other parts. And if they want to, if you have a big piece of solid paper, if they'd like to mount this on a piece of, like a background, that's great. They could even draw a little tree branch along the bottom for the owl to perch on, but they don't have to. It's fine like it is. And if it's slightly heavier paper, like construction paper, it's pretty sturdy too. Okay, well, I hope that you have fun making that owl with your child, and they get this is going to be pincer grip skills, hand-eye coordination skills, okay? And they'll probably do the stamping while it's on a surface, on a table or something. It's going to be mostly their dominant hand that they'll use. They may use the other hand to keep the paper steady. They'll use both hands in cutting, probably both hands in manipulating the glue. And so it's fine motor, hand-eye, spatial planning, and most importantly, pincer with that celery stick. So I hope you have fun with it, and I hope your child enjoys our story and learning about the letter O. Thanks very much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.